Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva on Sunday delivered a stinging response to Washington's 50% tariff on Brazilian imports, calling it a politically motivated attack tied to former President Jair Bolsonaro.
The lack of economic rationale behind these measures makes it clear that the motivation of the White House is political. President Trump, we remain open to negotiation, but Brazil's democracy and sovereignty are not on the table, Lula wrote in a New York Times op-ed.
The tariffs imposed by President Donald Trump in July follow Bolsonaro's 27-year sentence for attempting a coup after his 2022 electoral defeat. U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, have threatened retaliation.
The political persecutions by sanctioned human rights abuser Alexandre de Moraes continue, as he and others on Brazil's Supreme Court have unjustly ruled to imprison former President Jair Bolsonaro. The United States will respond accordingly to this witch hunt.
Brazil's foreign ministry slammed Rubio's remarks as an inappropriate threat that wouldn't intimidate the government, emphasizing Bolsonaro received full due process. Lula also criticized the economic logic of the tariffs. The tariff increase is not only misguided, but illogical, he wrote, citing the $410 billion surplus the US has accumulated over 15 years of bilateral trade. Lula called out the US for unilateral action, stressing multilateralism and warning that any further measures will not deter Brazil.
A president of one country cannot interfere in the sovereign decisions of another country. If he chooses to take further action, that's his problem. We will respond as measures are taken.
He hailed Brazil's Supreme Court for its historic ruling, rejecting claims of a witch hunt and highlighting months of investigations that uncovered assassination plots against top officials and a draft decree to annul the 2022 election. Meanwhile, Bolsonaro briefly left house arrest on Sunday for medical treatment, greeted by supporters chanting "Amnesty now." "I'm with my father and witnessing the continuation of the biggest circus in Brazilian history," said his son Carlos, criticizing the heavy police presence around the visit. Directly addressing Trump in his op-ed, Lula warned that Brazil will not yield to political pressure.
President Trump, we remain open to negotiating anything that can bring mutual benefits, but Brazil's democracy and sovereignty are not on the table.
Brazil will defend its institutions, economy, and sovereignty, standing firm against US tariffs and any future retaliation.